Week 7 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few plays I look to sell and trade this week. The first player, Naji Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Harris coming off easily his best game of the season in that Week 6 victory at the Vegas Raiders in the blowout victory. So Naji Harris, there hasn't been a threat to his touches this season. I know Jalen Warren finally returned off injury, but he doesn't look 100%, and he's been banged up all season. And Harris, he's been getting a healthy and a good workload, but I still believe Harris, he's only a running back that's going to get 10, 15 points per week at most. And then there's going to be some weeks where he's in single-digit fantasy games. Not a good receiver out of the backfield is Naji Harris. In between the tackles, there's some games where his yards per carry are way down, and now coming off the big performance in Week 6 at the Raiders with 106 yards and a touchdown and 2 catches, 16 yards. He's a sell-high candidate because the next couple weeks, the matchups aren't all that ideal. Week 7 versus the Jets, one of the best run defenses. Week 8, he's got the New York Giants, who their run D's all right. And then Week 9, a bye week. So right now, Naji Harris, after coming off a monster performance and a running back who we've seen had a lot of ups and downs, but more downs over the last couple seasons in terms of not having a high ceiling. He's a sell-high play this week. The next sell-high, DeAndre Swift, the Chicago Bears. DeAndre Swift, first 3 weeks of the season, he didn't do much. And now the last 3 weeks, 20 or more fantasy points in PPR weeks. So we know he can catch the football out of the backfield this Swift. We know he's got a lot of speed, and he could score at the goal line as well, where he's pretty much a starting and a 15-20 touch running back is Swift. We saw last season a big role with the Philadelphia Eagles, but they didn't re-sign him. They got Saquon, and he went in free agency with this Bear team. And this Bear offense is playing great, no doubt about it, but with the bye week coming up, and the numbers, obviously, I don't think are going to keep going at this rate for DeAndre Swift. He's a sell-high candidate because with the bye, you're going to miss a week out on him right now. In Week 7 is DeAndre Swift. This Bear defense has had some easy matchups over the last couple weeks, and with the schedule getting a little tougher, and I believe Swift is going to slow down a little bit. He's not going to put 20-plus points up weekly. He's a sell-high play this week. The next sell-high is his teammate Keenan Allen of the Chicago Bears. So a lot of Bears on the sell-high list. So Keenan Allen, I know he's been banged up majority of the season, but last week he went out there and he had a monster performance, Keenan Allen, and easily his best performance of the season, but his snap count was still down. He had the 5 catches, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns in London versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. But like I said, Keenan Allen all season long, he hasn't done much. And I know last season he was a top 5 receiver in points per game. But this offense has a lot of weapons. Obviously, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, who had a big performance in the Week 6 victory versus the Jaguars, DeAndre Swift. So like I said, a lot of mouths to feed in this offense right now for the Chicago Bear team. And I just believe Keenan Allen is going to be phased out as the year goes on because he's a free agent after the season. And he's just a wide receiver that an injury pops up here and there. And at 32 years old, with numbers declining and injuries getting worse, Keenan Allen coming off a nice game. If you could sell him off, especially going into the bye week as well, this will be a time to deal with the next player's teammate, Caleb Williams of the Chicago Bears. So over the last couple weeks, I think this Bear offense, they played over their head a little bit. Caleb Williams, I know he was the first overall pick in the NFL draft this season, but the first few weeks he didn't look good at all, taking a lot of hits, holding on to the football a lot, and making bad turnovers. In the last 2 weeks, he's definitely turned the season around, is Caleb Williams, and putting up elite numbers as a top quarterback in that time. So the last couple weeks, Week 5 versus the Panthers, 304, 2 touchdowns, 34 rushing yards. And then Week 6 versus Jacksonville, a monster performance it was for Caleb Williams in that one. 37 fantasy points, 226, passing, 4 touchdowns, an INT. And he used his legs in that one when he had to, 56 rushing yards. And it was almost 5 touchdowns. Forward lateral sweep to DJ Moore. They called it a touchdown originally, but he was stopped at the 1-yard line. So Caleb Williams, last 2 weeks, like I mentioned, gone out there, put up the monster numbers, but those were 2 easy matchups versus the Panthers and the Jaguars. And like I said, the schedule is going to get tougher for him as well. And right now, he's a sell-high candidate going into the bye and coming off in the last 2 games where Caleb Williams, he's had 6 touchdowns. I don't believe it's going to hold up for him. The next sell, J.K. Dobbins of the Los Angeles Chargers. So far, J.K. Dobbins, he's held up this season, and Gus Edwards is the running back penciled out where he's went on IR and he's out a minimal 4 weeks. So J.K. Dobbins this season, he's had some monster ball games, no doubt about it. 3 games out of 5 on the year, 18-plus fantasy points in PPR leagues. But like I said, with Dobbins, a lot of injury concerns throughout his NFL career. Keenan Allen, he's going to definitely get touches, and he looked good in his debut last week for this Los Angeles Charger team. And Dobbins, I don't know if he's an every down back. He's a smaller back, coming off an ACL, coming off a torn Achilles over the last few seasons. He obviously fits this offense like a glove with Jim Harbaugh, the way he wants his offenses structured and stuff. And he's got 3 games on the season, over 90 yards on the ground as J.K. Dobbins, especially week 6, coming off 20-plus touches. But like I said, with the injury concerns in this offense, besides J.K. Dobbins, is not a big threat. I think defenses are going to zero in on Dobbins more as the weeks go on, and his numbers might drop off a little bit. So if you could sell him off after coming off a nice performance with 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues, this would be the time to do it this week. The next sell high this week was Jameson Williams of the Detroit Lions. So Jameson Williams, definitely a breakout season this year it is for him, but a lot of boom or bust ball games it's been for Jameson Williams, where he's pretty much been a deep ball or nothing this season. So Jameson Williams this year, definitely a great year, 4 out of 5 games with double-digit fantasy points this season. But like I said, if he's not getting the deep ball as Jameson Williams, he's not putting up numbers, and we've seen it over the last couple of weeks, long touchdowns for him to have big days. Week 4 versus Seattle, 2 catches, 80 yards, a touchdown, which was a 77-yard touchdown. And then week 6 at Dallas, only 3 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets, where in that one, 87-yard touchdown. So like I said, Jameson Williams, he's a big yard after catch play, a deep ball threat, no doubt about it. But weekly, I just don't believe it's going to keep up at the rate for Jameson Williams, where, like I said, his targets are low for the most part this season. His receptions per game really haven't been high for this year. The most he's had is 5 in 2 ball games, and I just believe at this rate it's not going to be sustainable. And I know he gets a lot of one-on-one coverage, obviously, in an offense where you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta in this offense. So a lot of good weapons where one-on-one coverage is there for Jameson Williams. But like I said, targets really haven't been there still. Receptions per game really haven't been there, and it's been a boom or bust. But he's boomed 4 out of 5 games this season, and he's a sell-high candidate this week. And the final sell-high is Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts. So Michael Pittman, there were reports earlier last week that he's going to be out multiple weeks and possibly a candidate for IR was Michael Pittman with a back injury. But he's gone out there, and he toughed it out, and he put in another good performance and a gutty performance for the Indianapolis Colts. So Michael Pittman, the last 3 weeks since Joe Flacco's been in the lineup, filling in for the injured Anthony Richardson, he's had double-digit fantasy games in all those games, where the first 3 weeks he didn't have any double-digit fantasy games. So Michael Pittman, we know, is a talented wide receiver, but a few factors in why I would sell him high. They said last week was the coaching staff that Anthony Richardson is still the starter when he's 100% healthy, and I believe he's going to return. Pittman, he had a great touchdown catch in that ball game to put him over the top, but we've seen the track record already with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. So now, after we've seen 3 games with Richardson and 3 with Flacco, he's a sell-high candidate because Richardson comes back week 7. I think Michael Pittman's ceiling's going to be that high, and we saw already early in the season what he did with Richardson plays. I look to sell and trade for week 7 of the fantasy football season.